Miss Haley, thanks for doing this. We are going to talk about your job as a graphic designer.
Cool.
And so where did you start? How did you get started? Were you always interested in design or creative? What was your little story as growing up?
I was always creative. I remember drawing a lot as a kid, even though I do not consider myself like a drawer. But I always had some kind of creative something going on. And I felt like I was always trying to like express myself because I was like a really quiet kid. So I was like drawing and would do all the creative things as like to show people who I was. And there was like a couple like drawing contests in elementary school that I would win or whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'm like good at this, I think. And so then I never really thought about it as like a career or anything. For a long time, I actually wanted to like, I didn't want to, but for some reason I thought I might be a math major in college because my grandpa worked for NASA. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go work for NASA. Except I hate math and science. So I don't know where that came from. So about my senior year in high school, they had like a new, like a technology wing on my school that opened up that they had just built. And so they had all these like new elective classes. And so I wanted to take something that was kind of easy, kind of chill. And they had a graphic design one. And so I took it and it was very easy and chill. But that's the first time I really learned that like what graphic design was and like that you could do it like as a career.
Okay, so that was in high school?
Yeah, that was like not until my senior year in high school. Where I was like,
that's cool that your school had something to offer. A lot of places have kind of like the generic, like a drawing class or ceramics or maybe film production kind of a thing. But that's nice that they offered that.
Yeah.
And then, so once you finished high school, how'd you know you wanted to do it in college? Or was it kind of in your mind, I wanted to go into graphic design, or not yet?
I think it was. I mean, as far as I remember, I had that like math thing
still in there.
But then I was like, I don't think I want a job that I have to like really work at. And like, I want a job that's going to be fun.
Right.
And I loved doing artistic things. So I'm like, what can I do that will pay the bills? I'm not going to be a professional painter or something like that where I'm like struggling. And I wasn't good enough to really be successful at that anyway. So I was like, okay, this is a good like middle ground of doing something creative, but also being able to like make money if I have to make money for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went to school, picked a major, and it was just art. Because at Alabama, at the University of Alabama, they just have like art. And then I picked, my concentration was digital media. They didn't have like graphic design specifically, but all digital art.
What kind of classes did you have to take for
my major? I took like hands-on, like I took ceramics, I took painting, I took a film photography class.
Oh, wow.
The ones that were like actually the digital media was just like, I guess technically graphic design. I don't remember what they were actually called, but yeah, working on like Adobe software and doing fine art and also doing like real world projects. Like one of my classes, we had real clients that would pitch us the project.
Cool.
And we would all do them and present them, and then they'd pick one to use in real life. So
those are the best way to learn.
Yeah, it was awesome because you also got like real validation. It wasn't just a teacher being like, this looks good. It was like a company that liked it and wanted to use it as a logo or as an ad or whatever they were doing. Yeah. So
did you gravitate at all towards like certain brands or anything like that maybe you wanted to do graphic design for? Like, was it in the health industry or anything? Just any kind of graphic design was kind of up your alley?
I don't remember thinking anything specific. I did like an internship in college for like a marketing, not agency, I guess, but it wasn't creative marketing. And I really didn't know the difference between creative marketing and like marketing, like we're going to put your logo on a pin and pass these pins out kind of stuff. So when I found out that distinction, I knew I wanted to go into more of a using design for marketing. And so, yeah, those are the kind of jobs I started looking for toward the end of my college career and after. But there wasn't like, I just wanted to do something fun. I knew fun was the main thing. Like an industry that was cool and fun and that I would want to tell people I worked for, you know? So I just always looked for something that I would enjoy personally.
So I know now that you work for a big company.
Yeah.
But have you worked for smaller companies as well, or have you ever just done freelance? I know there's so many possibilities with this career, which is really nice because sometimes it feels limiting, or you can't work for yourself if you're, if you pick a certain field. So what have you done and what do you prefer?
I thought starting out I wanted to go the agency route, because the thing with design is you can do agency or in-house, you can do contract, you can work from home. Like there are so many things you can do, which is almost like trying to figure out what you want to do is kind of hard.
Right.
But I knew I wasn't self-disciplined enough to like do it on my own. So I've pretty much only worked for like startup-ish businesses. Okay. So within 1 to 10 years of them operating, and I've always worked in-house.
Okay.
Which has been fun because I've had like one brand to really focus on and develop. And I've seen a lot of like the companies I've been with grow a lot since I started when they're pretty small.
Yeah.
So that's been super, super fun. Yeah.
Really rewarding.
Yeah. It's to see that like immediate like reaction to stuff is also just a cool thing about design. You get people automatically that you work with saying that looks awesome. And you get people if you're doing things on social media. So yeah, getting that like validation.
And also cool that you get to be part of the process of making a brand.
Yes.
Dictating where it might go or what the imagery will be and the feel and the voice of it, I think is also, it's appealing to me, but I think it would be such a fun project or fun to be a fly on the wall in those situations. Yeah.
Because branding is another like branch of design, which I also like. If I had the self-discipline, I would just do like freelance branding, because developing a brand from the beginning is so much fun, and the imagery and the fonts and the colors and the logos, like it's the best.
It's so interesting because I've talked to other people and they're like, they just can't even wrap their brains around the idea of, I have to start from scratch. How am I going to do this? What font is that? And like all, And meanwhile, there's people, I'm not as talented as you are, but the idea like, oh, this could be fun, or I could kind of start getting the feel or what they're trying to portray. That is really fun. What's it like working? I know you don't want to really work alone because you feel like you're not self-motivated, but what's it like working with a team, a creative team? Sometimes creative people, not always, but can be really opinionated or set in stone with their idea, and they might not want to budge so much. What's it like working with other creatives in your field?
I like it because sometimes when you're working on a project for too long and you looked at it for so long, like I don't trust my own eyes. Sometimes I'm like, is this as good as I think it is? So having like a team setting is really good, especially with people that you trust their taste and their vision as well.
Right.
Then you trust their opinions when they tell you to tweak something or change something or whatever. But it's so nice to have like different eyes on a project, or even just like brainstorming sessions.
Yeah.
Because you might think you have the best idea until you hear someone else's idea.
That's true.
So it's just I love collaboration. And that's also why working for myself wouldn't really work. I think I'd get too bored. I'd get too lonely. Yeah. I like the team setting for sure.
What are some cons that you've experienced in your job, if you can think of any?
I think that's one is being convinced that your idea is the best.
Yeah.
And then being told it's not, or dealing with clients.
Being heartbroken.
Yeah, you learn not to really take things personally. It's hard when you do invest a lot of your personal taste into something. But that's just like with any job, you can, invest a lot in, and someone tell you that's not how it's gonna be.
Right.
I think in this field in general, working with clients is hard, especially when you're working with a client that's not a creative, and you want to be like, trust me to do my job. Like, I know this looks the best, but they want something very specific. And sometimes you have to like bite the bullet and just do what they want, but do it in the best way you know how. So finding that balance can be interesting. It can be fun because it like opens you up to being really creative. So how can I accomplish this in the way that they want? So sometimes it's fun to like really think outside the box and figure out how you're gonna make something work between a client and like what you think is best. So
do you give them multiple options as well?
Yeah, a lot of the time. Or I'll give them one option with a lot of like explaining why I did things. I think that's really important. when you're going about it like that.
That's nice.
When you're dealing with clients and stuff.
Right.
That way they can see I didn't just make it look pretty. I did it, you know, it fits all these criteria or whatever you're dealing with.
Okay. That's really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, again, for different personalities.
Yeah.
The ones who we can't use our imagination as well, or we can't picture it, or, you know,
just
being able
have
to really
speak their language.
Yeah. I think that's really thoughtful. Yeah. What are some pros? Some stuff that you like totally love and you're so glad you got into this field?
You just get to be creative all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, as a creative person, being able to do that, like doing it for 8 hours a day is so nice. Like I don't have to work with spreadsheets. I don't have to work with a lot of numbers, you know, nice, yeah. Like it's kind of nice.
You get to play all day.
Yeah, you just get to play all day. Yeah, 100%. Today I was like doing a bunch of ice cream graphic stuff, and it's like colors and all kinds of things, and
so cute.
And yeah, I was like, oh, this really kind of looks cool, and I've been having fun with it. Another pro is like because technology, especially with like design software, it changes a lot. It gets updated a lot. There's so much to learn all the time.
Okay.
And it's super fun when you figure out something new and a new way to do something. Yeah, so.
Oh, riffing off that made me think of like continued education.
Yeah.
So is that required in your field, or are people supposed to be like self-motivated to constantly learn about the evolving software?
I think a little bit of both. I think finding the best way to do the thing you want to do is for me the most important because there's all kinds of different softwares and different ways to do things on different softwares. Okay. So I always figure out what way do I like to do it and what way's the easiest to do it.
Okay.
To get to where I'm at, to get to whatever's in my brain on the, not paper, on the screen.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I think it is a lot of teaching yourself the new things if you want to like level up. If you don't want to and you're fine where you're at, like that's fine too. But because things move so fast with the software and stuff, there's tons of kids that are just graduating college that probably know way more software stuff, intricacies than I do. And that can be a little intimidating sometimes.
Yeah.
But like, you just got to trust that you can get there or that your vision is right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What's the day-to-day like for you as you are working for one company? You're not working for an agency. As an agency, it's kind of, I can imagine having worked for an agency, you know, every day you're working with a bunch of different people, not the same, but as only working for one, what's that day-to-day kind of like for you?
It's pretty easy. I have a list of projects and due dates basically. Yeah. So I'll go in, all kinds of different things from emails to social to packaging, like across all avenues.
Yeah.
And so I just work on whatever is in front of me, whatever is needed the most quickly. I take a lot of snack breaks because if I look at something too long, you get to a point where you're like, I can't think of anything else to do to this thing.
We all get brain farts.
Yeah. It's not like, sometimes I wish I just had busy work, like entering numbers in a spreadsheet and I could just pound it out and go.
Sure.
But yeah, it's pretty chill. I love where I work. I love the people I work with. So like getting stuff done is pretty easy and effortless. But yeah, it's a normal 9 to 5, 9:30 to 4:30, whatever I feel like.
Depends on the day.
It depends on the project. Some projects can go a lot faster.
Right.
Because I might be super inspired and like just get it done fast. And some have more of an approval process or whatever. So
you also have a big hand in the social media aspect as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is that like, juggling graphics and then creating those ideas for social? And then how do you come up with so many ideas? Because in a creative position, it is really difficult. And there are days where you're like, oh, I can't think of anything. Or I don't know what they're going to want. You know? Or is this really stupid because, you know. So how do you come up with things, and what is it like trying to push things out on social where people really want things to go viral? They want things to stick. There's so much pressure in that aspect. So how do you deal with that?
My main thing, I trust my intuition most of the time. It's usually right. I have pretty strong intuitive decision-making skills.
Yeah. Okay. Put that on the resume.
Yeah, but I'm also like chronically online. Like I'm
Okay.
constantly on social media. I scroll Pinterest all the time. Like I'm
Okay.
always looking for inspiration and saving it and keeping it organized so that when a project comes up where I'm like, I don't know exactly what I want to do for it, I just scroll on Pinterest.
You can be inspired by something.
Yes, that's mainly how I do it. I just scroll on Pinterest and find something that strikes me.
Right.
And I'm like, maybe I could do it like this and tweak it like this. And then it just gets the ball rolling into creating something brand new from.
Right.
Yeah. Because there's like a quote, and I might be misquoting it, but it's basically like great artists. What is it? Good artists create and great artists steal, or something like that. It's like in a world that's been around for as long as the world's been around, like coming up with something creative that's brand new, next to impossible.
Yeah.
So it's like always use other people's inspiration and always look at what other people are doing on social and whatever to like guide you. Because if it's working for them, the chances are good that it'll work for what you're doing too.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you feel the stress of trying to create something really great? Because we are now in that day and age where social media is a huge marketing platform, and I've dealt with people, clients who are like, well, how am I going to go viral? And you're like, well, sometimes you're just really lucky.
Yeah. That's
like a lot of it seems like that's what it is, you know? The stupid thing goes viral or the non-stupid, you know what I mean? It just kind of depends. So do you feel that stress in your job? Do you feel a lot of stress in general from your job?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Some days are easier than others. I feel like Monday of this week, I was telling my boss, I'm like, my brain is jumbled. Like there's so much inspiration coming in and projects and thinking about deadlines and thinking about all this stuff that like I couldn't just sit down and like create anything. It comes and goes.
Right.
It just depends. But like I've really learned to not be hard on myself. Like I give yourself credit for what you can create, because I mean, not like tooting my own horn, but I'm doing a lot. I'm doing a lot of things that no one else in my company can do.
Right.
So it's like, that means I'm already doing it better than they would. Right. And if I'm doing it to my best ability, then like that counts for something. Like I don't have to do something amazing every single time. I just have to do something pretty good and that I like, you know, and that I am confident in. But yeah, a lot of it's also, intuition. It's just with social media, it's like, what do you think will work? If you're a consumer of social media, you probably have a pretty good understanding of what works and doesn't work. And sometimes it's just an accident. But I just want to make things look good. Right. Someone else's job is the numbers and all that. Like, I just want it to look good, okay? Yeah.
Is there a lot of growth in this position? Do you feel like there's like entry level and then mid-management and then other things? But also, is there opportunities to really branch out? And I mean, I'm assuming so. I feel like I could answer my own question, but I want to hear it from you. Like, working from one company to an agency and then maybe becoming a creative director at a company and not just a graphic designer. Do you feel like there's a lot of growth opportunities?
Yeah. I would say because there's also so many different types of design to do. And then from each of those is so much ladder potential.
Okay.
I'm going to trade
like
that.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, you can go from junior designer to senior designer, or senior designer to an art director who more like, in my understanding, it changes from company to company, but who would tell the ideas and have someone execute them. Okay. And then there's like creative directors who's over all the creative of the company, and they kind of work with all the
moving parts,
branches. Right. Yeah. So I do think there's limitless potential. And also in a world where like every company relies on design. Every company has to have something designed for them. Right. And some are willing to shell out major cash to stand out in their industry or wherever they may be. So it's like, I think the possibilities are as big as you want them to be. Especially like if you've got the talent to match, like sky's the limit. Right. For sure.
I mean, that's great to know, because this wasn't something I was thinking about when I was in school, of thinking, oh, I want to one day be the director of, you know, but now that I'm older, I've picked a certain kind of career path. Who knows, it might change it again. I don't know, knowing me, but that's something that I've talked to my parents more so about, of, okay, is there growth in this position? Because I don't really want to stay at this one spot forever. And so it's really nice that there are branches that go out from this. Yep. So people don't have to worry about that.
No.
Which
And
is
like,
great.
I've only been technically a graphic designer since I graduated college, and I love doing, and you could do that forever if you wanted.
Right.
Yeah. Depending on what company you're at or what, like, sometimes you like being at the bottom of the ladder, less responsibility. But if you want responsibility,
right?
Go get it.
It's good to know there's options. I totally know, and there's different personalities, and not everyone wants all that.
I had a college professor. He was actually one of my advertising. I think he was one of my advertising professors or whatever. And he said, "You shouldn't be in this field if you don't want to be a creative director." And I was like, "Some people don't want the responsibility, sir."
Right.
Yes, and I'm fine just creating, and not being the one that's like making the hard decisions. So yeah, it just depends on what floats your boat.
No, it's true. It is really true. I learned that kind of in the hard way with coworkers thinking, why don't they want to improve this? Why don't, and then someone saying to me, well, not everybody wants to. Like, I'm like, oh, okay. But I just like kind of assumed, which was dumb, to assume that. But, my last question would be, what would your advice be for someone, a young person, either high school, young adult, maybe someone who's even in their career and they're like, I hate my job, what would your advice be for finding something that, a career that you would like? Or like, would you suggest going and trying a lot of internships or taking more classes? Like you had the opportunity in high school, or is it shadowing people? What would your advice be for even a younger you or a sibling, talking to a sibling, like explore all these different things, or if you have any kind of interest, what would you?
It depends on what your priorities are. Some people, your priority is going to be money and security.
Okay.
And then you want to find a job that's going to make you the most money and security.
Right.
Some people love going to school. Yeah. So go to school and learn about all the things. Yeah. I didn't want either of those. I mean, money would be great, but like, that was never, my priority was, what can I do that I'm not going to hate for 8 hours a day?
Sure.
So I picked a career that was doing something that I already like to do in my free time, outside of school, outside of whatever. And that was just like something creative. I was like, I want to do something creative because I have fun, and I could see myself doing that for 8 hours a day for the rest of my life if I have to. So yeah, I think go on the internet and just see what like sticks out to you. Yeah. Trust your intuition, big intuition girl, and try. I mean, you can think something to death, but until you try it, you don't really know. And I always just say, like, nothing's permanent. Right. If you hate your job, go find another one. If you hate that one, quit it and go find another one. Right. Like, you got time to figure it out. True. And it's not worth sitting somewhere forever that you hate just because of money or whatever you might be there for. So, right. Yeah. Okay. Experiment.
This is great.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, thanks, Hali.
Yeah, you're welcome.